Okay, in this video we are going to create our first Spring MVC controller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a new package. I'm going to call that controllers. And in this I'm going to create a book controller. So this becomes just a simple class. Mostly in Spring we work with simple Java classes. And here I'm going to use another stereotype and I'm going to call that a controller. And in this, I know I'm going to need a book service. So remember, we're creating a service layer for the controller to work with. We're abstracting all the persistence logic from the controller into a service layer. So what we want to do is say private final. And notice I'm using the interface here. I'm calling for the interface, not the hard implementation of that. And by doing so, that allows further down the road, we can run multiple implementations into this using the power of Spring's dependency injection. So I'm going to go ahead and create a constructor for that. So that sets up the book service to be injected. What's going to happen at runtime when Spring sees that we require a book service, it is going to have a Spring bean that implements the book service impl. That's going to be an implementation of book service, so that will qualify as a dependency candidate for it. And when Spring creates this controller component, it will go ahead and wire that in automatically for us. Now, what we want to do here is we're going to create a simple method, create a public method that's going to return back a string, just simply get books, and that's going to take in a model. And here what we want to do, model is a Spring component, so remember the Spring MVC, the M in MVC. So we're going to take that model, and on that what we want to do is we're going to say model add attribute. We're going to give it a name and a value. So in this case, we're going to say books, book service, find all. So very, very simple implementation here. What's happening here is when Spring calls this method, it'll pass in the model. That will be an implementation of the model, and we are telling here on line 21, we're going to add in an attribute. So that's effectively like a map and a property key. And for this, what we want to return back, we're going to return back a view name, which we have not implemented yet. We will be doing that in an upcoming video. So we're going to return back a string of books. Now, the secret sauce here is we want to say request mapping. So what we're doing here is we're setting up a request mapping. Spring will see this being annotated as a controller and having the request mapping. What Spring is going to do is register /books. So when we go to 8080/books, Spring knows to invoke this method and provide that result. So that's how everything gets wired up in that context. But at this point, nothing would happen because we haven't provided a view for that. We need to do that yet. But we probably could start this up. I expect it would start up and initialize just fine at this point in time. We have the controller annotated. That becomes a Spring component. Our service becomes a Spring component. Our repositories are Spring component. So Spring has everything that it needs to wire everything up. But what it doesn't have, it does not have a view that is defined as books yet. So that is the last component that we need to add, and we will do that in the next video.